So actually, if you all wouldn't mind just popping into the chat and letting us know where you are.
I've got some reminders for Margret.
Thank you, Google. That would be great. It'd be nice to know where you are. And hopefully Arif will soon, let's see, Arif, you're muted. Andrew, you're in Oakland. Oh. Christine is in San Miguel, originally from Toronto. Hi, Patricia, also Toronto. Arif, please unmute yourself.
Margaret.
Hi, Patricia.
How are you?
Stephen, when are you arriving in Mexico?
Saturday night, like the day after tomorrow, you know.
Very nice. Very nice. Where are you starting out?
I'm going to be in Mexico City for a week, well, for 6 days, and then I'm going to Oaxaca for a week, San Miguel de Allende for 5 days, Guanajuato for another 6 days, and then back to Mexico City for 2 nights before I then come home via New York, 2 nights in New York City.
Very nice. Well, if you need any tips or help, just let me know. Send me an email.
Thank you.
Arif, I just want to hear your voice, please.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, yay! Right on time. You're 1 minute late.
My roommate went with the neighbors so he can remind them that they need to stop working.
Okay,
we
good.
can hear all the banging, like all the construction.
Yeah.
You know, that's how things in Mexico.
Yes, that is true. That is true. Anybody who's just joined recently, if you wouldn't mind just typing into the chat where you are. I see we have somebody in Reno. Julie is in Reno, Nevada. So we have someone, Arif, we have someone, Christine is in San Miguel. We have a couple of people. Jamie is in Oaxaca. Oh, Kate, you're in Washington now. I think Kate was in Oaxaca before. I have that right.
Yes, I was.
Yes.
I will return. So.
Yes. Well.
I have rented my place for mid-October. So.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
And I see Erin is in Merida. Erin partners with me on a lot of, we've done cook-alongs. We did cook-alongs last year. And we'll be doing a cook-along coming up soon. I think, hey, Erin, do you remember the date of that? If you want to, you can type it in if you want to. I think it's the 18th of July. We'll be doing a cook-along. I'm going to spotlight Arif for most of this. So, and actually I'll ask if everybody could turn your video off during the presentation. It'll just help with bandwidth and with the recording. But if you have a question during his presentation, feel free to turn on your video and unmute yourself. If you wouldn't mind raising your hand and I can, call on you, that would be great. If you don't know how to raise your hand, at the bottom of your screen, there is a little smiley face with reactions. It says reactions, and you can click on that to raise your hand, and I'll be looking for your raised hand. And if I don't see it, you can just unmute yourself and start talking, because that's possible too. Let's see what else. Or you can type questions into the chat, but there will be time for questions at the end as well. So I'll just introduce myself here. I'm Margret Hefner. I founded Frutas y Verduras when I was living in San Miguel de Allende. As a foreigner there, I was learning about regional produce, and I got it into my head that I could somehow maybe be helpful to other foreigners who wanted to learn about regional produce as well. So I've been making various runs at that. I created an ebook called Frutas y Verduras, and I've done organized cooking classes and tours, all with the aim to try to align people's food desires, well, foreigners in Mexico, their food desires and needs with food sovereignty goals. So that's been my big mission with this. And this is the first talk in what I hope will be an ongoing monthly series of talks, just kind of tying regional foods and indigenous foods with culture in Mexico to, draw those connections and, help pull it all together, make sense of it all. So Arif is my first guest, and now I've lost Arif. Where are you? Can you
Here,
unmute
here.
yourself? And where'd you go?
I'm just a
There
little
you
bit
are. There you are. There you are.
I'm a little bit concerned if you can hear to the banging, like toom toom, because I told my
Yeah,
neighbors.
yeah. No, I didn't think that they would quit right away. So
Okay,
we
so
can hear it.
maybe-
Yeah.
Maybe you can give me 1 minute and I will go super quickly to remind them. like,
Okay,
1 minute,
I'll keep entertaining the masses here.
because it's going to be very uncomfortable. if we-
Yeah, I know it's
listen to
distracting,
them.
especially for you
One-
hearing it.
1 minute, please.
So does anybody want to talk to me? Does anybody have any questions? So while we contend with this distraction, somebody please say hello. I may just randomly, let's see, choose somebody to unmute. Mhm. No, huh? Nobody's going to help me out here?
I'll help you out. No, I did. I really love what you a moment ago you talked about food sovereignty goals and
Yeah.
and I think that is so important and so vital, particularly at a time when you have corporations that are trying to patent genetically modified organisms. If they had their way, I mean, it would be impossible for anyone to plant a seed without paying some corporation for the right to do so, which is just insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a huge problem worldwide, right? But I mean, in a small way, I sort of feel like for people living in Mexico, there's there's a whole food system that I wasn't, familiar with or in tune with. Like that just is so outside my experience, and I really wanted to learn more and contribute more in whatever small way I could, just in the way just in being a consumer.
Right.
So yeah, so that's the goal. And Arif is back.
Huh?
Yes,
And
There he is.
thank you, Stephen, for helping me out there. So Arif, happy to have you here. Happy to have you. So
I mean, it's better 1 minute that, I don't know, 50 minutes of listening to banging.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to introduce you here. I met Arif in San Miguel de Allende, and he's the owner of Simbiosis. And I started learning from him about, I guess, becoming a little bit more comfortable with buying wild mushrooms because of him. And so when I started coming up with this idea of like, who can I bring to talk to other people about regional foods and help to kind of, I don't know, remove some of the discomfort maybe or confusion or whatever, I thought of Arif. And so I'll let him take over now and tell us a little bit more about how you came to become a mycologist. Mycologist?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to remove my spotlight and give it to you.
Okay, so my name is Arif Alonso. I'm a Mexican, and I have been working with mushrooms since I was like 15 years old. Since I was in high school, my neighbors were picking mushrooms. I used to live in a place called Whiskey Lucan, and it was an oak forest in the back of my house, no? I didn't have a garden, I have a whole forest for me. So my neighbors, they were Otomis, that it's like indigenous community here in Mexico, surrounding Mexico City. And they were planting some corn in a traditional way called milpa. And then I used to go in the rain season when the milpa season was ready to, you put the seeds on the ground so you can grow the corn and everything. I also used to go with my neighbor to go and pick up wild mushrooms. But I had a very big question when I started picking up mushrooms with him because he used to pick just one species of mushroom. And I was seeing like so many varieties of mushrooms. So that gets me like the first um, thing to start investigating more around mushrooms, making more research. So then I finished my high school and then I studied biology. And then from biology, I started studying mycology, that is the specialization on the mushroom thing. So then I start knowing more about how to identify the mushrooms. So I keep going up there into the mountain and start making classification of the mushrooms that were growing up there in the mountain. So I start knowing that there were more species that they were edible than the ones that they were toxic. And they were more species than different from my neighbor used to go and pick up, but he only knew how to pick up this specific species because it was the leftover of the tradition that he used to know. Way before that, all the Otomís, all the Zapotecs, all the Aztecs, all the indigenous communities here in Mexico, they used to have a lot of knowledge on how to go and pick up the wild mushrooms, the medicinal ones, the edible ones, and also they knew how to classify them in a very um, in their own way because they didn't know anything about science, but they use uh, some sort of taxonomy way on describing them. They used to describe the mushrooms more of the ecosystem they were growing and the plants, the relations with certain plants, of if there were mushrooms that they were growing in grass or mushrooms that grow in the rain season or in the spring, mushrooms of sun, mushrooms of shadow. So they used to have like their own classifications. So, well, so I'm
Hey,
going to
Arif,
start. Yes.
I just had a thought. Do you want me to put the first question
Sure.
out there? And so we just have a few questions to sort of get to know what you know and maybe what you would like to know. So I'm just going to throw this question out to everybody, and if you could just answer in the poll.
Okay, also, I'm going to tell something else about me that actually I'm working with a lot of indigenous communities. Some of them, they already know which mushrooms they harvest from the rain season. And then I'm working with a lot more of indigenous communities to teach them which kind of mushrooms they can extract from the forest so they can make an economy around that. And I'm giving also tours here in San Miguel de Allende to the Sierra de Guanajuato every Sunday. So you can go and have like this experience to go and pick up the mushroom. And also I invite some chefs, the chefs that normally they buy the mushrooms from me to make their dishes. So it's something that there's some times that I teach the indigenous communities, but for sure, a lot of my knowledge comes from indigenous communities more than the database. So it's more the experience of knowing the indigenous communities, the traditions, how to cook the mushrooms and how to pick them up, rather than all the books. So I made a small presentation. Okay, in this first poll, I'm just going to tell you the word hongos, it means literally mushrooms. Setas is how we call oyster mushrooms here in Mexico, but in Spain, the term setas, it's to describe all the fruit bodies of the mushrooms, the edible ones, setas. So they say, oh yeah, this is a great seta, but it can be a chanterelle or a porcini. And here we call hongos. Hongos, it's the edible ones, the not edible, everything, no? The ones that make you sick, everything. In Mexico, hongos is the generality to call mushrooms, even the shrooms and also the mold. And setas, it's oyster mushroom here in Mexico, and in Spain, it's all the edible mushrooms. And champiñones, it's how we call the white bottom mushrooms, the ones that they used to grow in France. Indeed, it was the first mushroom that was cultivated all around the world. Okay, so I have a small presentation that I made for you. Can you make me a co-host, please, Margaret?
Oh, sorry about that. There. I've just granted you the power.
Okay. Okay, this first image, it looks very phallic, but all mushrooms, it looks phallic. So, because mushrooms, they are very, they decompose very quickly. I mean, you don't have like a lot of archaeological registers.
Is this just me or have we lost Arif?
We seem to have lost him. The video is frozen and I'm not hearing anything.
We've had storms all going through San Miguel, and our internet has been absolutely crap all day.
Okay. Construction and everything else. Okay. Well, very phallic image there in front of us. Okay. Hopefully he'll be back in a minute because I'm not sure what to do with that. Oh my goodness. How is everybody? So I guess it is the typical rainy time actually.
Yeah, I've missed out on like 3 Zoom calls today because the internet kept crashing.
Oh, wonderful news.
Just so you know.
I'm thrilled. Okay, Arif, let's see. Is he messaging me? So talk amongst yourselves. I don't know what else to say. Just going to text him here. The best time of year to explore mushrooms in Oaxaca is, generally it starts with the rainy season.
I'm not Suzanne. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, hi, Jamie. No, I can hear you, but Suzanne actually popped up on my screen before you did. So I don't know.
Pop up.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt if she's going to, but I was going to say,
go ahead.
I live in Oaxaca, and you're right. Yeah, this is the time. And I've been foraging already. I was just going to put in the notes, anybody who's here who wants to go forage with me. It'd be fun.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
And also, just because we're killing time, Arif, I like that he started off mentioning the trees because that's really important. There's such a symbiotic relationship between the trees and the mushrooms.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the goals with all of this is to draw those connections because I don't know, the impact.
Margaret,
Yes.
I'm here, Margaret.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yay. Welcome back. Don't do that again.
I don't know what happened, but I'm here back.
Yeah, well, glad you're here. Putting the spotlight on you so you can't disappear again.
Okay. So yes, this is ready. So share screen. Okay, make me a co-host again, please.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, can you see this? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I was just saying that mushrooms are like very mystic, because they like bloom and then they disappear. So you have them for a very short period of time, and it came at like a long time for population, for the civilizations to know how to cultivate the mushrooms. So mushrooms, they just grow when it's have the adequate conditions of humidity, of temperature, and of lighting. So the diversity of the Mexican ecosystems makes Mexico the second country all around the world after China, and we have the most biodiversity in mushrooms all around the world, the second of them after China. No? But there are not too many archaeological research about mushrooms. Like I told you, they disintegrate very fast, and this start like in Mexico, it appeared a branch of the mycology that it's called ethnomycology, that is totally related to the ethnias, to the different indigenous groups. So it was in the mid of the 20th century, a guy called Robert Gordon Wasson, and they was in the work of making a classification of the mushrooms that were using the different indigenous communities. And they start noticing, I mean, they used to know hundreds of years ago of this, but they start noticing that a lot of indigenous communities they were using something called neurotropical mushrooms, no? So this guy, Robert Gordon Wasson, he was the one that made famous Maria Sabina. And he was the one who had the guilt of making very famous to come to Mexico, to Oaxaca, and to eat magic mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. And also that after all the people that started arriving to Mexico made that they banned these mushrooms and made it illegal. But they were making a lot of research around the psychedelic mushrooms, and right now they are starting again to making more research around psychedelic mushrooms because they can heal depressions, anxiety, etc. We can talk a little bit later more about this. So this what you are seeing on the screens, they are called mushroom rocks or mushroom stones, and they are some sculptures of medium to small size, and they are elaborated with something called cantera. I mean, it's like a volcanic type of stone. And you can find them, these type of stones, from Mesoamerica, that it's the middle part of Mexico, all the way down to Salvador. And they have already registered like 200 to 300 pieces like this. And it's one of the representations more old of these of mushrooms, that they are super involved with the development of the culture. So there's a mycologist, that he presented a hypothesis on something called the dope ape, and he tells a story because there's a history on the mankind that the brain was super developed in a very short period of time. So going from 500 cubic centimeters to 1,000 to 500 cubic centimeters, that is what we actually have right now in a very short period of time. So his hypothesis is that we start consuming magic mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. So this is something that I'm going to give you the research around this, so you can later read about this. But in the Mesoamerican culture, in the pre-Hispanic cultures, and in the Mexican cultures, you can see it in the Mayans, in the Aztecs, in the Zapotecs, in the Totonacas, in the Olmecas, that is the mother culture, what we call here in Mexico. So you can see small elements in everything that the leftovers of what they made. Everything is related with the mushrooms in different kinds of aspects, in the food, in how to heal different kinds of diseases, on how to make rituals. You can see in all the art of these societies, how they are going to represent with mushrooms, everything. So somebody was telling me the other day very famous anthropologist here in San Miguel de Allende called Alberto Velera. He was telling me that without the mushrooms, maybe the societies here in Mexico wouldn't have reached that highest level of civilization, no? Of development. Like the Mayans, they knew how to represent the number zero, just like the Arab people at the same time, no? So they had like a lot of mathematical way of thinking, and they knew how to represent the time and the stars and how to describe everything. So this is something that we need to make a very big considerations, because some of us can think about the societies here in Mexico like if they were like prehistorical, but indeed at the same time that the Mexican cultures were developing here in Mexico, the Egyptians were building the pyramids, but also here, no? And they used to have like the same level of civilization, the same kind of knowledge, archaeologic, architectonic, mathematic, in many more aspects, no? Also biology and religiously, spiritually, everything. So, okay. In this second picture, this comes from the Zapotec culture, and this small representation, they found it in Oaxaca. And this guy, he's holding a mushroom. Obviously, he's holding a mushroom in his right arm. And what we have been talking about is that this mushroom, it looks like a mushroom we call Psilocybe zapotecorum. That it's also a magical mushroom, a neurotropical mushroom. So they use it in every ritual. They eat magic mushrooms, no? Indeed, when the Spanish guys arrived, they call this type of mushrooms like the mushrooms that get you drunk, no? And they start banning them because religion, ways of thinking. But there are a lot of codices. The codices is like the registrations of the Spanish guys that arrived here in Mexico, and they start talking with indigenous people. So they start like making some paintings and a lot of things. So a codice, when I'm going to say a codice, is this type of representation, no? Like this one or this one. Okay, but in this one, we can see, let me just, okay, we can see that these guys, they are holding some mushrooms in their hand, all of them, they are holding mushrooms in their hand. So we can understand that they are making some type of ritual, and they are like, the main essence of the ritual is to eat the mushrooms. And they are also making some type of sacrifice, you know, to the god. And we can see this in this corner, in the right corner, we can see this guy that he's wearing on his head these 3 mushrooms. And this is the god of the mushrooms, no? It's the spirit of the hallucinogenic mushrooms. So it was very deep on their culture, this type of mushrooms there. The psychedelic ones, no, the magic ones, because they connect them with the nature, and nature, it was really important to them. And mushrooms, they are all also related with a god called Tlaloc. Tlaloc is the god of the rain, and also with Tonantzin, that is the god of the sun. So with the rain and the sun, we know that mushrooms are going to appear, no? But they were like making sacrifices for those type of gods. And also they were eating the mushrooms to connect more with the nature. So they were polytheist culture, the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Otomís, the Zapotecs, all of them, they were polytheists, so they believe in many type of gods, but every god is related with the nature. with some aspect of the nature. So the mushrooms are totally connected with Tlaloc, that is the god of the rain. And we know, like I already told you, that mushrooms grow when the rain comes. Okay, in this other codice, it's like this map, and we can see in this map, it's surrounded by 13 different elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, something's happened to my screen. But okay, it's surrounded by these elements. Oh my God. Wait a second. For all the problems, it's my first time using Zoom.
Sorry. Glad you're okay there, Arif.
Yes. I just hit the computer. Okay.
Yeah, just a little worried your neighbors are going to start hammering again. So
No, they already stopped. Okay. So, and then you see all these elements. So it's a map, and remember they didn't think as the earth as it was a globe, so they painted like that. And it's just elements to make a point of reference. And then you have this path in between, and then there's this guy over here sitting, that it was like a king that was protecting this mountain. This mountain is in Oaxaca, and it's the Mazatec mountain where you can find, it's like the mountain where you go with Maria Sabina and all that personalities. So this king is taking care of the mountain, and when you go to the top of the mountain, I mean, you can call this mountain like the mushroom mountain. So it was very important for them to go every year, like to go and eat mushrooms. No, it was a medicine for them to eating the magic mushrooms. And I'm making a lot of emphasis on the magic mushrooms because these mushrooms, like I already told you, connect them with the nature and let them to understand the other properties of the other mushrooms that grow and to understand how to use them, the medicinal mushrooms and the edible mushrooms. So the next image, it's from the Códice Valenciano. Okay, yes, it's, no, Códice Magliavenciano. Okay. So here you can see this guy that is sitting and he's eating mushrooms. And what I read about this códice, this picture of this códice, is that the Spanish guys, the religious guys, told the guys who were painting to paint something related with the devil, with something with devil that represent how they feel when they eat mushrooms. So these guys, they were not, they didn't know what's the devil, so they paint this character that it's a god. It's the god of the wind, and it's called Enoch. And so also this god is very related when you eat the magic mushrooms. It's going to start appearing because it starts like winding all your ideas, no? And these are obviously psychedelic mushrooms because of the color, no? We know that. So it was like super, super deep in the culture. And they already knew in this basic way how to classify the mushrooms, no? Mushrooms that come from a swamp, mushrooms that grow between gardens. So it was a very basic way of identifying mushrooms. I mean, there was like 20 more pictures like this, but they already had like this, some sort of classification of the mushrooms. So that's pretty cool because they already had a knowledge around the mushrooms. And this other guy that is showing up here, everything, this classification is from the Códice Florentino. And, well, this is also a psilocybin mushroom, no? And they paint this guy because this is the guy that like he is going to heal you when you eat these mushrooms. And right now we know actually nowadays that this type of mushrooms can really heal you from insomnia, from depression, from anxiety. And I also know different kinds of people here in Mexico that they use it to cure fibromyalgia and different kinds of diseases, stomach ache and different kinds of things. Okay, so right now here in our days, we have these type of classifications. So these are all mushrooms that grow here in Mexico. If you see a green thing, like here on your right, it's an edible mushroom. If you see a red mushroom here, it's a poisonous mushroom. But most of what we are going to look right now, they are edible. But we have this type of classification right now that is very scientific. So this is the class, that it's Agaricomycetos, and the family is Amanitaceae, and the genre is Amanita. So this one is the Amanita cesaria. It's one of the most delicious mushrooms all around the world. There are like 31 species that we can take advantage in Mexico from the Amanita group of the cesarias. But also in the Amanitas, you can find the Amanita muscaria. This is very famous, this mushroom all around the world. There are some people that they say that Christmas starts because of these mushrooms. The shamans in Siberia, they use it, and it grows also a lot here in Mexico. A lot of communities describe it like a toxic mushrooms, but a lot of communities, they also boil them like 2 times and they throw the water and then they make it edible and they eat it in some quesadillas. So it can be a poisonous, hallucinogenic, but also edible mushroom if you know how to cook it. Some mushrooms have different types of preparations on how you are going to cook them. Okay, so all of these mushrooms, the seasonal mushrooms, they make an alliance with the trees that we call it, that it's mycorrhizal mushrooms. And that's why you cannot cultivate these type of mushrooms because they grow in a specific season and they make specific alliances with a specific type of trees, no? With oak tree, with pines, and with birch trees and different type of trees. And we can see here the different types of name that they give these mushrooms in the different cultures here in Mexico. So the Tarascos, they call it piripitli. The Zapotecos, they call it bayabela. The Celtal call it yuyo. The Raramuri, huecojitle. So they have different names also in the different cultures in Mexico. Because remember, every indigenous group here in Mexico is totally different from another one. Even in Oaxaca, the Zapoteca people, they speak like different types of dialects between them. So maybe a Zapoteca from the Central Valleys, it's not going to understand the Zapoteca from the coast or from the higher lands, no, the forest. So, okay, normally we call this Amanita cesaria, the yellow one. In Mexico, we call it in Spanish, yemita, or huevito, or huevo de gallina, that it means like chicken egg. Yemita is like a small yolk that comes from the egg. And when these mushrooms are small, they hatch from an egg. It's really delicious. And this mushroom, you can eat it raw. And it tastes delicious. And it's called cesaria because of the Caesar in Rome. So when the taxonomists arrived here to Mexico, they put this one, the Caesar mushroom, because it's related with the groups of mushrooms that grows in Europe, that is the Caesaria group, and the Caesar used to eat this mushroom. It was the favorite of the Caesar to eat the mushroom. So the other Amanita is the Amanita muscaria, but you can also have these ones, no? Agaricus campestris. Agaricus is like the champignon. It's very close to the champignon family. Lycopterodon, here Lycopterodon perlatum. It's a mushroom that we eat a lot here in Mexico and start growing with the first rains. And it's very delicious, and it's like a puffball. Yes, I think that's how they call it in the United States, puffball. The other one here is Pleurotus de Jamor. That is the oyster mushroom, but it's a white variety, and it can also be a pink variety. And we call it orejitas, like ears, little ears, orejitas. Lepista nuda, it's a mushroom. We call it moraditos. And this is really good, but not a lot of people pick this one. No, it's very strange that you are going to find these in the market. The other ones, you are going to find them, but this one is very difficult. It's just for people that already know what they are doing, because you can have a lot of possible confusions with this one, no? More with the group of the Cortinarius and the Lepistas. But you can see here in your right, they show you the different names on the different cultures. And they are not going to find this in all the cultures. That's why you cannot see them in different names, no? Like this one, the Lepista nuda, it's just in Nahuatl. Mojada Nanacatl. In the Aztec voice, they say Nanacatl. Nanacatl, it's the mushroom. Teo Nanacatl, it's the psychedelic mushrooms, but Nanacatl, it's the mushroom. So you can see here, Mahadanacatl. So it means like the purple mushroom, you know? Okay, Rusula mexicana, it's another type of mushroom. Rusula brevipes. Rusula brevipes, we call this mushroom like donkey ear. Lactarius indigo, that it's the Lactario group, it lactates like some sort of milk when you damage the gills that are above the hat. So the Lactarius indigo lactates blue indigo milk, and that's the way to identify this mushroom. This is the Chantarelle lucivarius, that is, we know this all around the world, that is the Chantarelle. Here in Mexico, we call it little apricot, duraznillo. Okay. Wait me. Okay. Okay, then we have chanterelle here, that we call it like little apricot. And then we have here the Boletus edulis, that is the porcini. Porcini is the name in Italy. Here in Mexico, we call it semita, pambazo, bread mushroom. That's what is the meaning of semita and pambazo. And then we have other types. With this image of these different colors of the mushroom, let me show it to you. Oh, Margret, I don't know how to move the window, but I'm just about to finish with the highlights. This one is the Psilocybe mexicana. Psilocybe mexicana, it's a psychedelic mushroom. But it doesn't appear any tree here because it's a saprophyte mushroom. So it doesn't need any type of mushroom, of tree, I'm sorry. So you can cultivate these ones. All the psychedelic mushrooms, you can cultivate them. And they are called like saint children in Spanish. Niños santos, niñitos, because they transmit you with the innocence of the world. Okay, so let's finish with this picture. Okay. You can see a little bit, but you are going to have this one with you. We are going to show you the presentation to you take a little bit more of attention to these mushrooms. and you can read a little bit more. No? If you have any question at some point, just let me know. So I can go to the next one. Maybe Margaret, you want to make the poll of the color of the mushroom?
I can make a poll. Oh, okay, that one. Let's see.
Because as you already watched, I showed you like different mushrooms, and all of them have different colors, like orange, red, white, purple, blue, yellow, purple again, some of them also white to brown, orange, even black. So we have a question for you guys.
So I think pretty much everybody agrees. I'm going to end.
Well,
the
that's
poll.
true. It's not necessarily the color, the smell, the taste of the mushroom. Nothing is going to tell you if it's poisonous, if it's edible, if it's psychedelic. Just the database is going to let you know, because there's no macroscopical aspect that is going to let you know if a mushroom is edible or not. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this.
So the bottom mushroom, lobster mushroom in US. Was that what that was in the bottom? Are you talking about the picture, Kate? Or
Sorry.
Mm,
I needed to unmute myself. Yes, I was wondering if it was a lobster mushroom in the US. The russula with the secondary infection.
yeah, that's right. The lobster mushroom, it's a rusula, and
Uh,
there's a mushroom that infects, that is called Hypomyces lactiflorum. And it just attacked the rusula group. This specific specimen, like Hypomyces lactiflorum, just attacked the rusula group, and it transformed them in the lobster mushroom that it's very delicious.
so you have those in Mexico also.
Yes, yes, a lot of mushrooms that grow here in Mexico, they grow all around the world.
Oh,
But there are
yeah.
some endemic mushrooms here in Mexico, like the clavito, that is Leophyllum decastes, the Lacaria lacata, and certain species. It's that some type of species they change. Like you can find the Amanita of the group of Cesaria, but here in Mexico we have 3 different species of that specific group on the Cesaria. We have Amanita laurae, Amanita basi, and Amanita jacksoni. So it's different varieties of the species and of the group that grows in Europe, because you need to know that most of the classifications, they were classifying in Europe. So here in America, it's changed, it totally changed. So a friend that also worked with taxonomy, Alan Rockefeller, that he's in the West Coast of the United States, he comes here to Mexico, and then he works over there in the West Coast in the United States. And he's reclassifying the names of the mushrooms because they are totally different species from the European species. What he's using, it's a mushroom called lady's skirt, like falda de señorita. And on the right, you can see Amanita rubescens. The Amanita rubescens, it's from the Amanita family, and it's very delicious. And then in the right picture, we can see Ramarias, the yellow ones that we call it patitas de pollo here, like chicken legs.
ah, that's what it is, right?
And then you can see some type of agaricus, that is Agaricus sylvaticus, I think. Agaricus sylvaticus or Agaricus campestris. But it's like a wild variety of champignon that grow here in Mexico. Yeah. We're going to talk about the Nanacateras. The Nanacateras, it's the girls or the ladies that go and pick up the mushroom as a tradition here in Mexico. And they are called Nanacateras because remember, Nanacatl, it means mushroom. So Nanacateras, they are the ladies that go and pick up the mushrooms. And it's a very, how do you say in English? Like, I don't know how to say it in English, but it's an activity related with woman. Yes, it's like a woman activity. I don't know why. I mean, I go and pick up mushrooms, but in the pre-Hispanic world, it was used the girls and the ladies were, and the childs, the ones that pick up the mushrooms. So let's watch a small video that is in the state of Hidalgo. And it's a place that I have been like 4 times picking up mushrooms. So it's very, very nice. I have found a lot of species over there in Acasochitlan. So it's one of the best places to go and search for mushrooms.
Este ritual solo ocurre una vez al año en temporada de lluvias y abundancia natural. Es herencia de la cultura otomí enclavada en la sierra de Acasochitlán Hidalgo. Son sus nanacateras, las recolectoras de hongos silvestres. Un recorrido por el mercado de Tulancingo es muestra de los colores y sabores.
Okay, here I'm going to mention that whenever you are here in Mexico, if you are going to try the mushrooms, you need to go to the local market and you need to see that there's more people, that they are selling things, and you need to know that like these people have like a little bit of experience, no? Because if you find somebody that is selling mushrooms just in the highway, don't buy mushrooms from them because you are not 100% sure. But if you go to the market, and then you see more people that they are like next to these ladies that they have like a display on these mushrooms, you can 100% trust on what the ladies already select. So this only happen in the local market, and obviously in the local market you can find beautiful ingredients of Mexico.
De esta zona del país.
Para rebanar el aguacate.
Chinicuiles.
Puro gusano rojo. Es todo. Es el caviar mexicano, dicen por ahí. La comida de los pobres, dicen por ahí.
Quesos típicos. Chiles, frutos coloridos, verduras frescas y casi ocultas y clandestinas las nanacateras y su tradición milenaria.
Pero no ve que mucha gente dice que ya lo prohíben. Nosotros lo contamos pero para comer, pero ya para vender ya.
Okay, that lady is saying that she's no longer picking up mushrooms because a lot of people say it's saying that maybe they are going to die. But that is like trying to kill the traditions of these girls, of these ladies. And it's like, that's too bad because a lot of traditional aspects of Mexico, they are already dying. And you can see like a little bit of shame on this girl. Because, and she's saying that she picks up mushrooms, but just for herself and their family. Because a lot of authorities, they are starting to tell them to not sell the mushrooms because maybe they are going to poison someone else. So it's that's a shame because that's not true. No, they have like a very ancient, like a very old knowledge around the mushroom. So it's like it's a shame what is happening here in Acasochitlan. In Oaxaca, they are more proud. In Guerrero and Chiapas, but here in Acasochitlan, they are starting to not being totally sure of their traditions.
¿Por qué?
Pues mucha gente dice que se muere.
Son perlas de alibra.
Mire, ahorita ya nomás hay poquititas cosas. En mi tierra se daban unos de los rojos, hasta así como sombreros.
Seguir buscando, caminar, luego hasta 4 horas.
Por ello fuimos a la sierra a conocer de primera mano a Cristina y Florentina.
¿Cómo está? Mucho gusto. ¿Con quiénes me voy a ir con ustedes? Cristina, yo me llamo Carolina.
Ay, gracias.
¿Tú? ¿Cómo te llamas, Florentina?
Somos las dos nanacateras.
Qué bonito. ¿Y por qué se llaman nanacateras?
Porque se llaman nanacatelongo.
Para mostrar que su conocimiento es científico.
Ahora sí vamos caminando.
En la canasta se va cortando porque lo sacamos y lo cortamos con un cuchillo.
Nada más en la temporada de lluvia. Bueno, estamos esperando.
She's saying that this is just happening in the rain season, and the rain season in Mexico, in this middle part of Mexico, center part of Mexico, it's from July all the way to October. So we have 4 months of rain season, of mushroom season. But also we have mushroom in winter. That is when because we have ice in the volcanoes here in Mexico. When you have ice melting from the volcanoes in the winter and in the spring more, then we start having morels. So mushroom season is happening in different parts of Mexico. It changed, but in the center part of Mexico, it's July to October.
Que llegue en julio, agosto, septiembre y octubre.
Son 3 meses mágicos en los que florece desde la tierra este fruto preciado.
Sí, ya vamos llegando. Ya ahorita nos vamos por donde hay los hongos.
Algunos ingresan a nuestro canasto con método específico.
Este es el duraznillo.
Like, what a good vision of this girl to find. And here's a duraznillo. It's a chanterelle. What she's searching over there.
Se hace la recolección así, se le pega así, para que se le caigan las esporas, para que se vuelva a dar al siguiente año. Esto es lo que se recoge, se pone en el canasto, se tapa bien así.
Otros son rechazados.
Este no es comestible este hongo. Este es un hongo malito. Bueno, ¿cómo sabes tú que es un hongo malito? Porque luego se ve de acá.
It's really funny because they are saying this is like a bad mushroom, they are asking the Nanacateras, how do you know it's a bad mushroom? And she's saying, because you can immediately watch that it's white and you have these scales on the mushroom. But that's not something that in the mycology we see to define if it's edible or not edible, no, but they have their own way to describe the mushrooms. And just that one that they are looking right now, it's a poisonous mushroom.
De acá luego se ve que es puro blanco.
Desentierran tesoros del fango.
Este es el que con el que venimos.
That's the lobster mushroom that we were talking about.
¿Sí? Se le saca todo. Y otra vez lo que hacemos. Este es el que Florentina quería. Si este lo damos en 10 pesos el montón.
It's more valuable, the lobster mushroom.
Pueden pasar horas en esta búsqueda que se alimenta de años de cultura y pocos pesos de recompensa.
Siempre con
It takes between 4 to 6 hours to them to pick up the mushrooms that they need to sell in the market.
Pues ahora sí de nuestros papás, de ahí de los abuelitos, de ahí aprendemos y así.
Caminamos mucho y hacer una venta que llevamos al sustenso para la casa.
El bosque nos despide con la joya de la corona.
¡Órale! Ahora sí. ¡Ay, ese sí es bueno! Ah, entonces abajo.
Estos son los tlacuayeles.
No, yo. Yo también le quito.
That's a boletus from the Edulis group. So it's like the king of the mushrooms, and it's Tlacayeles. That's what she named it. And it's the porcini.
And she's very excited to have found it.
She's super excited.
Más o menos. Por acá sí. Acá sí, corten.
¡Qué hermosura!
Y cuando se cocina.
Ya de vuelta en el pueblo comienzan los fuegos, la estufa de aserrín. Se limpia una a una estas gemas de la tierra. Es como pulir un diamante. Se pica, se sazona. Y se muestra porque son reconocidas estas mujeres como cocineras tradicionales. Panzas, orejas, panadero. Cada uno una preparación, pero con cada sabor la exaltación. Moles, tacos, caldos.
Ni un taco de carnitas, sabe así.
Este México es el del conocimiento oral, el de nuestras raíces otomís, y que no le piden nada a las ciencias, solo las enriquecen y como nación nos engrandecen.
Es mi cara.
Okay. So it's a it's a very nice video because, as you can see, this is a tradition of many, many hundred, even 1,000 years ago of these people picking up the mushrooms and knowing which type of mushrooms. And at the end of the video, they are saying that they don't need any type of science. It's just the cultural, generational, and how they are learning of this generational way of learning. And they don't need any more. They even make more rich the science that is in the backgrounds of picking up mushrooms. But they don't need to teach, they don't need to learn mycology. No, they are already mycologists, these girls. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the presentation.
I'm going to quickly launch this one poll, because you've talked about a number of the names of mushrooms.
Yes.
So we'll throw this one out. So you can choose any one of those that you are familiar with, any of the names. Where'd everybody go?
Sorry, Margaret, what did you ask us to do?
Well, which of those names, you can see the poll, yes?
No, I didn't see it.
Oh, that's strange. Oh, there it is. Somebody can see it.
I can see it. I'm looking for none of the above.
Oh, okay. So if you, I guess if you can't choose, you can't choose. So if you want to type into the chat none, then you can do that. I should have added a none of the above answer. So I guess we can assume that none of these names are familiar to. Oh, and I can't submit. Wonder why. So those, I mean, I think one of the things that if you don't know a lot about mushrooms in general, and you go and you're talking to a vendor and they tell you the names, it's still going to be mysterious if you don't know the names. It's always a problem, you know, if you don't know the name of something, you can't look it up. You can't get any further if it's not a familiar name.
No, but we are in the 21st century, so you can always WhatsApp me immediately.
I think I've done that before, actually taken pictures of mushrooms and sent them to you. That was a few years ago,
Yes.
But yeah. Oh, that's a good workaround, Stephen. That question's not even supposed to be there. So I guess those are the I don't know any of these names. All right, I'll end that poll. Then we can move on. So we can say only langosta is, well, langosta and pancita and yema had some familiarity for some people.
Langosta, lobster mushroom. Pancita, it's the porcini. Yemita is the Amanita cesaria, or the Caesar mushroom. Falda de señorita, it's lady skirt. Yeah, no, it's translated as lady skirt.
I guess, yeah, that's what it would be. Yeah.
Clavito is like a small nail. We call it clavito here in Mexico, but it's from the Biophyllum, the castes species. And mazorquita, it's the morel. We call it mazorquita because it looks like some sort of the cob of the corn.
Oh, right, of course, yeah.
Because it has these little holes, no? So
Yeah.
mazorquita. Okay, so let's keep going.
Whose dog is that?
I don't know the neighborhood, and they have also chickens. Okay, so we have a little bit of some pictures of different mushrooms here. These are very exotic mushrooms. If I put this, do you see this bar of the spotlight and mouse? And
Yep, I see it.
but I don't know how to move it. I think you can know. See. Well, okay, this mushroom here, it's Dictophora induciata, and they call it, well, it's a little bit not decent, but they call it dog's dick.
I actually had one of those in my garden in Ontario here. It was
Dictophora induciata.
horrifying.
It smells terrible. It smells
Yes.
terrible also. And this is Lepiota mushroom, Leucocoprinus. And this one is Gaestrum. This is medicinal. Well, the three of them, they say that it's medicinal, but I mean, I haven't tried it.
So
This is the Rama.
basically don't try them at home. Is that
never tried at all. Okay, this is just to show you different types of mushroom, different structures, how they grow, no? Because look, these have like a veil when it's developing. This is like the normal type of mushroom that we know that have a hat and gills underneath. This is like a star-shaped mushroom. This is like a coral-shaped mushroom. So mushrooms comes in a different variety of shapes and sizes and everything. This is like the type of oyster mushroom.
Now, Arif, the mushrooms in the first slide, you will not find the Nanacateras selling those.
No.
Right.
No. This one you are going to find it with the Nanacateras. This one is very representative of Mexico. So this mushroom is called Nectarius indigos. So it's a blue mushroom, blue indigo mushroom. That's why it means Nectarius indigo. And this is very appreciated here in Mexico. It's the one that I told you that it lactates like a blue indigo milk. So there's a lot of cultural importance on the mushrooms here in Mexico because they give a lot of, they give economy to the people that go and pick up the mushroom and let them to preserve the forest, because without having this activity, they wouldn't think on preserving the forest. And because the forest give these mushrooms to the people, so it's a sustainable activity. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a sustainable activity to go and pick up mushrooms since thousands of years ago, no? And it gives the people a connection with the nature, and they know how to pick up the mushrooms, and also it gives food to the people for the seasons that they are not mushroom growing, because you can preserve the mushrooms in honey, drying them. You can also, well, right now we have different ways to preserve the mushrooms. We can preserve the mushrooms in olive oil, in vinegar, in salt water, drying them, in a vacuum sealing them, and then freezing them. So there are different ways to preserve the mushrooms, but the traditional way here in the Mexican communities, indigenous communities, is to dry the mushrooms, and they keep them for all the season that it's not raining. So they are going to have extra food, all extra protein also, and also medicine, because there are some type of mushrooms that they are anti-cancer, anti-tumoral. They heal you from different diseases like stomachache, and we all know that mushrooms have a very antibacterial properties. So, yes, somebody was going to make a question. So there's a lot of cultural importance in the Mexican mushroom, no? Also because of the economy, I also mentioned the food, and also because, yeah, that it gives you the connection with the environment. And also, they make different dishes with the different types of mushrooms. Like this one, the blue indigo, They cook it just in the charcoal, like in the, yes, with comal. The comal is like a pan, but that you put it in the fire, and then you just heat it up, this one, and put a little bit of salt, and then put it in a tortilla. And it's like super basic, but it tastes really good. It tastes like meat, like a barbecue meat without the barbecue. Like it's like very meaty, this mushroom. In Spain, it grows a different kind of mushroom. Like it's the same group, the same genre of mushroom, Lactarius, but in Spain, it's orange. It's not blue, and they call it Lactarius deliciosus. This is Lactarius indigo, and the other one is Lactarius deliciosus. Okay, here we have a picture of a girl. So when they start growing and they can come with their parents to the forest, they start picking up the mushrooms. So the knowledge of these people, it comes since they are little childs, and they have the experience going to the mountains. They haven't read in a book. They don't have magazine. Most of them, they don't have internet. So all of their knowledge comes because of going to the mountain to go and pick up mushrooms, and their parents or their families or the community, they let them know which type of mushrooms are edible, which type of mushrooms are not edible, and in what season they grow, and where to find them, between which type of trees, between which type of bushes or rivers, or where is going to grow the mushroom. So they know where to find, because I have been working with a lot of these communities, and I am like trying to search for the mushrooms, and until I show them pictures, they start telling me, oh, you are searching for this one? Then we need to search in a different place. And then I start learning a lot about where to find the mushrooms, because they are not going to grow everywhere. You need to know where to find them. And these people have the knowledge where to find them. This guy is from Chiapas. This other girl, she's from Tlaxcala. This other guy, he's from Chiapas. This other girl is from Hidalgo, from Acasochitlan. This is from Oaxaca. And this guy is, again, from Tlaxcala. Javier Mina from Tlaxcala, and he's holding what we call small nails or clavitos, and it's Leophyllum decaste. This is one of the most popular mushrooms here in Mexico, the wild mushrooms, and we normally cook it in a soup, and it's delicious because mushrooms, they have something that we call ácido glutámico. And the ácido glutámico is what Japanese people, they call umami. So the umami is the flavor that makes the other flavors to have sense, and also makes the other flavors to be more rich on the palate. Okay, this is a mix of different types of mushrooms that we can find in the Sierra. And here's what the earth offers, no? Lobster mushroom, Amanita cesaria, ramarias, clavitos, rúsulas. All of them, they are edible. This is another mushroom we call Gomphus flocosus, and it's also edible, trompetas. So there's a lot of people that let me talk a little bit with this image. I'm going to talk about mycophilia, that is the love of the mushroom, and mycophobia, it's the fear of, the inherent fear to the mushrooms. So we all have a lot of fear because of the mushrooms, because we relate the mushrooms, we make a relation with a comparison with the mushrooms, that mushrooms are the ones that close all the cycles, like the mold, and they are dangerous because they are going to seek you, or maybe they are going to kill you, or maybe they are going to make you to have hallucinations. So what I want you to tell you at this point is that if you keep making a research, there's somebody that is asking, that is raising up their hand. Margret?
Yes,
Yep,
it's
go ahead. Yep.
it's Patricia. It's, since you're talking about the health benefits of mushrooms, I've heard that there's vitamin D in mushrooms.
Yes, and if you dry them with the sun, they start getting more vitamin D.
Really? Ah, that's fascinating.
So they absorb the vitamin D of the sun and then give it back in a way.
Yes, yes. So that's the way to have your reserves of vitamin D while winter is. I mean, here in Mexico, we have a lot of sun, so we don't need to make that. But like in Canada, maybe in Toronto and all that type of places that you don't have too much sun, you can use this way to dry your mushrooms and you can get vitamin D. Well, you are like in a lot of dark, no?
Yeah. It's fascinating because there's not much vitamin D in any foods because you have to get it from the sun. But it's incredible that the mushroom will store vitamin D, will manufacture it and then store it.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Also, mushrooms have all the amino acids, the essential amino acids. So it's a very good source of protein, and they are very low in well, they have a lot of dietetic fiber, and they are very low in cholesterol. I mean, they don't have at all cholesterol. But yeah, I was talking about the mycophilia and mycophobias. So it's the love or the fear or the hate for the mushrooms. No, from the love to the hate to the mushrooms. So there are very few organisms in this planet that can cause a lot of emotions or feelings so intense and contrasting than mushrooms, no? So you can, I make you an invitation here to start knowing more about mushrooms, reading more about mushrooms, because when you arrive here to Mexico and go to a market and you start seeing a lot of mushrooms, did you buy them from the Nanacatera or do you don't buy them? Because Margaret was telling me that she was not able to buy some mushrooms. Well, she was able, but she had a lot of fear to buy some mushrooms for some ladies that they were selling mushrooms because she didn't know the mushrooms. So that's maybe a little bit of mycophobia because you don't know the mushroom that you are going to buy. So
can I defend myself?
Yes. Yes.
No, I find the whole, I mean, I respect, I think, the world of, mushrooms, and I'm intimidated by it. And when when you see all of these mushrooms out there, and they're all these colors I've never seen before, I don't know, it's intimidating. I feel the same way about snorkeling in large schools of fish. I feel like they're going, it's overwhelming. But I think, I've been reading a lot about food neophobia. Just any sort of new food can be hard to adjust to. And even though I'm adventurous, I still experience that sometimes. There, I've defended myself.
I mean, just to be fair, there are very toxic fruits that grows in the forest that can also kill you. And they are like as toxic as mushrooms or as toxic as rattlesnake bites, So, but there are also people that they don't like to taste the mushrooms because of the texture or the flavor. But you need to know that there are different types of mushrooms with different textures, with different flavors. So they're like, you need to try them, no? Just to be scared, don't have this fear. Try it before you can say, no, this is not my thing. Like it's totally different. A chanterelle from a porcini, from a morel, no, from the huitlacoche. The huitlacoche, there's people that they love it or they hate it. No? But mushrooms, they are also in our cheese. Mushrooms are also in different products that we take every day. Even in our yogurt, it's, well, that's more bacteria that they are growing over there. But yeah, we need to be more mind open to start trying all types of mushrooms. I mean, you need to be 100% that you know what you are taking, because yes, there are mushrooms that can be harmful, but most of the mushrooms that the ladies on the local markets they have, of course, these ladies, they know what they are already picking up, so don't be scared of what these ladies are offering. Just write on some paper that this is the local name, take some pictures. If you don't really are 100% sure, you can always send me a WhatsApp or an email, and the next time you are going to be 100% sure, no? But yeah, the wild mushrooms, if you are going into the mountain, in that way, you need to be totally sure, 100% sure on what you are picking up, because there's a lot of possible confusions, and there's where you can be on a big mistake, and you don't want that to happen. But in the market, it's totally safe to go and pick up the mushrooms. Don't worry. These ladies, they know, and they have like an ancestral knowledge on what they are offering to you. Okay, so, and these ladies, they live from selling the wild mushrooms. So if you support the selling of these wild mushrooms in the traditional markets, you are helping to preserve the forest, like in an indirect way. But if you don't buy them, then the people, they don't get money, and they start thinking to make other activities that they are going to give them more money, no? So yeah, so please support the local markets, the traditional markets in Mexico. And if you see these Nanacateras that they are offering you mushrooms, go and buy them from them. They are 100% safe.
I think that's probably a good place to end, because we're at an hour and a half now. And does anybody have any, I mean, I think that's a really actually wonderful place to end, because that's kind of the objective here, to encourage, you know, people who are in Mexico as travelers or as visitors to, you know, put their money towards buying these regional foods and supporting those traditional ways. Arif, you're going to have to come back so we can talk about pulque and yeasts and everything you were going to talk about there.
Pulque and huitlacoche, but that we make it another.
Yeah, we'll make another one. So just want to say thank you for coming, and I'll be sending out an email with Arif's contact information, with his Facebook, his Instagram, and also the link. This is being recorded, and I will be posting it on YouTube. Yes, and Jamie, so if anybody wants to get in touch with Jamie, just send me an email and I'll forward it on to her. That's probably the best way. So Jamie had offered to accompany people, or, you know, for people to join in foraging with her in Oaxaca. That's really nice. Arif, thank you so much.
Yes, in Oaxaca, if you want to join Jamie, also I can send you some contacts over there with a lot of people that they are making right now that kind of experience. And also the Feria of Cuajimoloyas is coming very soon. And Cuajimoloyas is a place in Oaxaca where they have been making a mushroom fair since the last 20 years. So it's a wonderful experience to go over there. And if you are close to San Miguel de Allende, please come and we can have also the experience to go and pick up mushrooms here in the Sierra de Guanajuato.
Yes, so that's the information I'll be sending everybody, how to get in touch with you. So yeah, that would be wonderful. I wish I could be there. Maybe I will. I'm hoping maybe in September. everybody, whoever's still here, if you wouldn't mind showing up on video for just 1 second so we can just say goodbye and thank you for being here. Just wave. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it, and any comments or feedback you want to send me. And yeah, next month there will be another. I think that's going to be Suzanne talking about Frida Kahlo's paintings. So
will you send the information on that one as well?
Who said that?
Me.
Well, I'll be updating it on the site, and yes, I guess I will, trying to put all the pieces together. So I suppose, yes, it'll be out there. And once we decide on a date and everything.
Thank you. Learned some stuff. Thank you, Arif. That was awesome. I want to see it. I can't wait to see the video. Thank you for taping it and making it available for us to look at more deeply. And I want to plan a road trip from Oaxaca to San Miguel de Allende. Okay, hasta luego.
Nice road trip. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Nos vemos pronto.
¿Verdad?